Alī ibn Abī Ṭālib was the cousin and son-in-law of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, ruling over the Islamic Caliphate from 656 to 661. A son of Abu Talib, Ali was also the first male who accepted Islam. Sunnis consider Ali the fourth and final of the Rashidun, while Shias regard Ali as the first Imam after Muḥammad, and consider him and his descendants the rightful successors to Muhammad, all of whom are members of the al-Bayt, the household of Muhammad. This disagreement split the Ummah into the Sunni and Shi branches. Muslim sources state that Ali was the only person born in the Kaaba sanctuary in Mecca, the holiest place in Islam. His father was Abu Talib and his mother was Fatima bint Asad, but he was raised in the household of Muhammad, who himself was raised by Abu Talib, Muhammad's uncle and Ali's father. When Muhammad reported receiving a divine revelation, Ali was the first male to accept his message and first to convert to Islam at the age of 12, dedicating his life to the cause of Islam. Ali migrated to Medina shortly after Muhammad did. Once there, Muhammad told Ali that Allah had ordered Muhammad to give his daughter, Fatima, to Ali in marriage. For the 10 years that Muhammad led the community in Medina, Ali was extremely active in his service, leading parties of warriors in battles, and carrying messages and orders. Ali took part in the early caravan raids from Mecca and later in almost all the battles fought by the nascent Muslim community. Ali was appointed Caliph by the companions of Muhammad in Medina after the assassination of the third Caliph, Uthman ibn Affan. He encountered defiance and civil war during his reign. In 661, Ali was attacked one morning while praying in the great masjid of Al-Kufa, and died 2 days later. In Muslim culture, Ali is respected for his courage, knowledge, belief, honesty, unbending devotion to Islam, deep loyalty to Muhammad, equal treatment of all Muslims and generosity in forgiving his defeated enemies, and therefore is central to mystical traditions in Islam such as Sufism. Ali retains his stature as an authority on Quranic exegesis, Islamic jurisprudence and religious thought. Ali holds a high position in almost all Sufi orders which trace their lineage through him to Muhammad. Ali's influence has been important throughout Islamic history. In Mecca, birth and childhood. Ali's father Abu Talib was the custodian of the Kaaba and a sheikh of the Bani Hashim, an important branch of the powerful Quraysh tribe. He was also an uncle of Muhammad. Ali's mother, Fatima bint Asad, also belonged to Banu Hashim, making Ali a descendant of Ishmael, the son of Ibrahim. Many sources, especially Shi'i ones, attest that Ali was born inside the Kaaba in the city of Mecca, where he stayed with his mother for 3 days. According to a tradition, Muhammad was the first person whom Ali saw as he took the newborn in his hands. Muhammad named him Ali, meaning the Exalted One. Muhammad had a close relationship with Ali's parents. When Muhammad was orphaned and later lost his grandfather Abdul Muttalib, Ali's father took him into his house. Ali was born 2 or 3 years after Muhammad married Khadija bint Khuwaylid. When Ali was 5 or 6 years old, a famine occurred in and around Mecca, affecting the economic conditions of Ali's father, who had a large family to support. Muhammad took Ali into his home to raise him. Acceptance of Islam. The second period of Ali's life begins in 610 when he declared Islam at age 10 and ends with the hijrah of Muhammad to Medina in 622. When Muhammad reported that he had received a divine revelation, Ali, then only about 10 years old, believed him and professed to Islam. According to Ibn Ishaq and some other authorities, Ali was the first male to embrace Islam. Tabari adds other traditions making the similar claim of being the first Muslim in relation to Zayd ibn Haritha or Abu Bakr. Some historians and scholars believe Ali's conversion is not worthy enough to consider him the first male Muslim because he was a child at the time. Shia doctrine asserts that in keeping with Ali's divine mission, he accepted Islam before he took part in any pre-Islamic Meccan traditional religion rites, regarded by Muslims as polytheistic or paganistic. Hence the Shia say of Ali that his face is honored, that is, it was never sullied by prostrations before idols. The Sunnis also use the honorific Karam Allahu Wahu, which means God's favor upon his face. The reason his acceptance is often not called a conversion, is because he was never an idol worshipper like the people of Mecca. He was known to have broken idols in the mold of Abraham and asked people why they worshipped something they made themselves. Ali's grandfather, it is acknowledged without controversy, along with some members of the Bani Hashim clan, were Hanifs, followers of a monotheistic belief system, prior to the coming of Islam. After declaration of Islam, for 3 years Muhammad invited people to Islam in secret, then he started inviting publicly. When, according to the Quran, he was commanded to invite his closer relatives to come to Islam, he gathered the Banu Hashim clan in a ceremony. According to al-Tabari, Ibn Athir and Abu al-Fida, Muhammad announced at invitational events that whoever assisted him in his invitation would become his brother, trustee and successor. Only Alī, who was 13 or 14 years old, stepped forward to help him. This invitation was repeated 3 times, but Alī was the only person who answered Muhammad. Upon Ali's constant and only answer to his call, Muhammad declared that Alī was his brother, inheritor and vice-regent, and people must obey him. Most of the adults present were uncles of Alī and Muhammad, and Abu Lahab laughed at them and declared to Abu Talib that he must bow down to his own son, as Alī was now his emir. This event is known as the Hadith of Warning. During the persecution of Muslims and boycott of the Banu Hashim in Mecca, Alī stood firmly in support of Muhammad. Migration to Medina. In 622, the year of Muhammad's migration to Yathrib, Alī risked his life by sleeping in Muhammad's bed to impersonate him and thwart an assassination plot so that Muhammad could escape in safety. This night is called Laylat al-Mabit. According to some hadith, a verse was revealed about Alī concerning his sacrifice on the night of Hira, which says, "And among men is he who sells his nafs in exchange for the pleasure of Allah." Alī survived the plot, but risked his life again by staying in Mecca to carry out Muhammad's instructions, to restore to their owners all the goods and properties that had been entrusted to Muhammad for safekeeping. Alī then went to Medina with his mother, Muhammad's daughter Fatima, and 2 other women. In Medina, during Muhammad's era, Alī was 22 or 23 years old when he migrated to Medina. When Muhammad was creating bonds of brotherhood among his companions, he selected Alī as his brother. For the 10 years that Muhammad led the community in Medina, Alī was extremely active in his service as his secretary and deputy, serving in his armies, the bearer of his banner in every battle, leading parties of warriors on raids, and carrying messages and orders. As one of Muhammad's lieutenants, and later his son-in-law, Alī was a person of authority and standing in the Muslim community. Family life. In 623, Muhammad told Alī that God ordered him to give his daughter Fatima Zahra to Alī in marriage. Muhammad said to Fatima, "I have married you to the dearest of my family to me." This family is glorified by Muhammad frequently, and he declared them as his al-Bayt in events such as Mubahala and hadith like the hadith of the event of the cloak. They were also glorified in the Quran in several cases, such as the verse of purification. Alī had 4 children born to Fatima, the only child of Muhammad to have surviving progeny. Their 2 sons were cited by Muhammad to be his own sons, honored numerous times in his lifetime and titled the leaders of the youth of Jannah. At the beginning they were extremely poor. For several years after his marriage, Fatima did all of the household work by herself. The shoulder on which she carried pitchers of water from the well was swollen, and the hand with which she worked the hand mill to grind corn was often covered with blisters. Fatima vouched to take care of the household work, make dough, bake bread, and clean the house. In return, Alī vouched to take care of the outside work such as gathering firewood, and bringing food. Their circumstances were akin to many of the Muslims at the time and only improved following the Battle of Kaaba, when the wealth of Kaaba was distributed among the poor. When the economic situations of the Muslims became better, Fatima gained some maids but treated them like her family and performed the house duties with them. Their marriage lasted until Fatima's death 10 years later. Although polygamy was permitted, Alī did not marry another woman while Fatima was alive, and his marriage to her possesses a special spiritual significance for all Muslims because it is seen as the marriage between 2 great figures surrounding Muhammad. After Fatima's death, Alī married other wives and fathered many children. Military career of Ali. With the exception of the Battle of Tabuk, Ali took part in all battles and expeditions fought for Islam. As well as being the standard-bearer in those battles, Ali led parties of warriors on raids into enemy lands. Ali first distinguished himself as a warrior in 624 at the Battle of Badr. He defeated the Umayyad champion Walid ibn Utbah as well as many other Meccan soldiers. According to Muslim traditions, Ali killed between 20 and 35 enemies in battle, most agreeing with 27. Ali was prominent at the Battle of Uhud, as well as many other battles where he wielded a bifurcated sword known as al-Fiqan. He had the special role of protecting Muhammad when most of the Muslim army fled from the Battle of Uhud, and it was said there is no brave youth except Ali and there is no sword which renders service except al-Fiqan. He was commander of the Muslim army in the Battle of Kaaba. Following this battle, Muhammad gave Ali the name Asad, which in Arabic means Lion of Allah. Ali also defended Muhammad in the Battle of Hunayn in 630. Missions for Islam. Muhammad designated Ali as one of the scribes who would write down the text of the Quran, which had been revealed to Muhammad during the previous 2 decades. As Islam began to spread throughout Arabia, Ali helped establish the new Islamic order. He was instructed to write down the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the peace treaty between Muhammad and the Quraysh in 628. Ali was so reliable and trustworthy that Muhammad asked him to carry the messages and declare the orders. In 630, Ali recited to a large gathering of pilgrims in Mecca a portion of the Quran that declared Muhammad and the Islamic community were no longer bound by agreements made earlier with Arab polytheists. During the conquest of Mecca in 630, Muhammad asked Ali to guarantee that the conquest would be bloodless. He ordered Ali to break all the idols worshipped by the Banu Aus, Banu Khazraj, ʔæliː, and those in the Kaaba to purify it after its defilement by the polytheism of the pre-Islamic era. Ali was sent to Yemen 1 year later to spread the teachings of Islam. He was also charged with settling several disputes and putting down the uprisings of various tribes. The incident of Mubahala. According to hadith collections, in 631 an Arab Christian envoy from Najran came to Muhammad to argue which of the 2 parties erred in its doctrine concerning Jesus. After likening Jesus' miraculous birth to Adam's creation, Muhammad called them to Mubahala, where each party should bring their knowledgeable men, women and children, and ask God to curse the lying party and their followers. Muhammad, to prove to them that he was a prophet, brought his daughter Fatima, Ali and his grandchildren Hassan and Husayn. He went to the Christians and said, "This is my family," and covered himself and his family with a cloak. According to Muslim sources, when one of the Christian monks saw their faces, he advised his companions to withdraw from Mubahala for the sake of their lives and families. Thus the Christian monks vanished from the Mubahala place. Al-Mutabari explains in Tafsir al-Mizan that the word ourselves in this verse refers to Muhammad and Ali. Then he narrates that Imam Ali al-Rida, 8th Shia Imam, in discussion with al-Ma'mun, Abbasid Caliph, referred to this verse to prove the superiority of Muhammad's progeny over the rest of the Muslim community, and considered it the proof for Ali's right for caliphate due to Allah having made Ali like the self of Muhammad. Adiykum. As Muhammad was returning from his last pilgrimage in 632, he made statements about Ali that are interpreted very differently by Sunnis and Shias. He halted the caravan at Adiykum, gathered the returning pilgrims for communal prayer and began to address them, according to Encyclopedia of Islam. Taking Ali by the hand, he asked of his faithful followers whether he, Muhammad, was not closer to the believers than they were to themselves. The crowd cried out, "ʔæbiː, it is so, O Apostle of God! ʔæbiː." He then declared, "ʔæbiː, he of whom I am the Mawla, of whom Ali is also the Mawla ʔæbiː." Shias regard these statements as constituting the designation of Ali as the successor of Muhammad and as the first Imam. By contrast, Sunnis take them only as an expression of close spiritual relationship between Muhammad and Ali, and of his wish that Ali, as his cousin and son-in-law, inherit his family responsibilities upon his death, but not necessarily a designation of political authority. Many Sufis also interpret the episode as the transfer of Muhammad's spiritual power and authority to Ali, whom they regard as the wali par excellence. On the basis of this hadith, Shias say that Ali later insisted that his religious authority was superior to that of Abu Bakr and Umar. Succession to Muhammad. After uniting the Arabian tribes into a single Muslim religious polity in the last years of his life, Muhammad's death in 632 signaled disagreement over who would succeed him as leader of the Muslim community. While Ali and the rest of Muhammad's close family were washing his body for burial, at a gathering attended by a small group of Muslims at ʔæliː, a close companion of Muhammad named Abu Bakr was nominated for the leadership of the community. Others added their support and Abu Bakr was made the first caliph. The choice of Abu Bakr was disputed by some of the Muhammad's companions, who held that Ali had been designated his successor by Muhammad himself. Later, when Fatima and Ali sought aid from the companions in the matter of his right to the caliphate, they answered, "O daughter of the Messenger of God, we have given our allegiance to Abu Bakr. If Ali had come to us before this, we would certainly not have abandoned him." Ali said, "Was it fitting that we should wrangle over the caliphate even before the Prophet was buried?" Following his election to the caliphate, Abu Bakr and Umar with a few other companions headed to Fatima's house to force Ali and his supporters who had gathered there to give their allegiance to Abu Bakr. Then, it is alleged that Umar threatened to set the house on fire unless they came out and swore allegiance with Abu Bakr. Fatima, in support of her husband, started a commotion and threatened to uncover her hair, at which Abu Bakr relented and withdrew. Ali is reported to have repeatedly said that had there been 40 men with him he would have resisted. Ali did not actively assert his own right because he did not want to throw the nascent Muslim community into strife. Other sources say that Ali accepted the selection of Umar as caliph and even gave one of his daughters, Kulthum, to him in marriage. This contentious issue caused Muslims to later split into two groups, Sunni and Shia. Sunnis assert that even though Muhammad never appointed a successor, Abu Bakr was elected first caliph by the Muslim community. The Sunnis recognize the first four caliphs as Muhammad's rightful successors. Shias believe that Muhammad explicitly named Ali as his successor at a time and Muslim leadership belonged to him which had been determined by divine order. According to Wilfred Madelung, Ali himself was firmly convinced of his legitimacy for caliphate based on his close kinship with Muhammad, his intimate association and his knowledge of Islam and his merits in serving its cause. He told Abu Bakr that his delay in pledging allegiance as caliph was based on his belief of his own prior title. Ali did not change his mind when he finally pledged allegiance to Abu Bakr and then to Umar and to Uthman, but had done so for the sake of the unity of Islam, at a time when it was clear that the Muslims had turned away from him. Ali also believed that he could fulfill his role of imamate without this fighting. Life after Muhammad. Another part of Ali's life started in 632 after the death of Muhammad and lasted until the assassination of Uthman ibn Affan, the third caliph in 656. During those 24 years, Ali neither took part in any battle or conquest, nor did he assume any executive position. He withdrew from political affairs, especially after the death of his wife, Fatima Zahra. He used his time to serve his family and worked as a farmer. Ali dug a lot of wells and planted gardens near Medina and endowed them for public use. These wells are known today as ʿAlī. Ali compiled a complete version of the Quran, Musaf, 6 months after the death of Muhammad. The volume was completed and carried by camel to show to other people of Medina. The order of this Musaf differed from that which was gathered later during the Uthmanic era. This book was rejected by several people when he showed it to them. Despite this, Ali made no resistance against standardized Musaf. Ali and the Rashidun Caliphs. At the beginning of the Abu Bakr's caliphate, there was a controversy about Muhammad's endowment to his daughter, especially Fatima, between Fatima and Ali on one side and Abu Bakr on the other side. Fatima asked Abu Bakr to turn over their property, the lands of Fatima and Kaaba. But Abu Bakr refused and told her that prophets did not have any legacy and that Fatima belonged to the Muslim community. Abu Bakr said to her, Allah's apostle said, "We do not have heirs, whatever we leave is Sadiq." Together with Ali testified to the fact that Muhammad granted it to Fatima Zahra, when Abu Bakr requested her to summon witnesses for her claim. Fatima became angry and stopped speaking to Abu Bakr, and continued assuming that attitude until she died. Aisha also said that, when Allah's apostle died, his wives intended to send Uthman to Abu Bakr asking him for their share of the inheritance. Then Aisha said to them, "Didn't Allah's apostle say, 'Our property is not to be inherited, and whatever we leave is to be spent in charity'?" According to some sources, Ali did not give his oath of allegiance to Abu Bakr until sometime after the death of his wife, Fatima, in the year 633 AD. Ali participated in the funeral of Abu Bakr. He pledged allegiance to the second Caliph Umar ibn Khattab and helped him as a trusted advisor. Umar particularly relied upon Ali as the chief judge of Medina. He also advised Umar to set Hira as the beginning of the Islamic calendar. Umar used Ali's suggestions in political issues as well as religious ones. Ali was one of the electoral council to choose the third caliph, which was appointed by Umar. Although Ali was one of the two major candidates, the council's arrangement was against him. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Abdurrahman bin Awf, who were cousins, were naturally inclined to support Uthman, who was Abdurrahman's brother-in-law. In addition, Umar gave the casting vote to Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman offered the caliphate to Ali on the condition that he should rule in accordance with the Quran, the example set by Muhammad, and the precedents established by the first two caliphs. Ali rejected the third condition while Uthman accepted it. According to Ibn Abi al-Haddad's comments on the peak of eloquence, Ali insisted on his prominence there, but most of the electors supported Uthman and Ali was reluctantly urged to accept him. Siege of Uthman. Uthman ibn Affan expressed generosity towards his kin, Banu Abd Shams, who seemed to dominate him, and his supposed arrogant mistreatment towards several of the earliest companions such as Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, Abd Ali ibn Mas'ud and Ammar ibn Yasir provoked outrage among some groups of people. Dissatisfaction and resistance openly arose since 650–651 throughout most of the empire. The dissatisfaction with his rule and the governments appointed by him was not restricted to the provinces outside Arabia. When Uthman's kin, especially Marwan, gained control over him, the noble companions, including most of the members of Elector Council, turned against him or at least withdrew their support, putting pressure on the caliph to mend his ways and reduce the influence of his assertive kin. At this time, Ali had acted as a restraining influence on Uthman without directly opposing him. On several occasions Ali disagreed with Uthman in the application of the hudud. He had publicly shown sympathy for Abu Dharr al-Ghifari and had spoken strongly in the defense of Ammar ibn Yasir. He conveyed to Uthman the criticisms of other companions and acted on Uthman's behalf as negotiator with the provincial opposition who had come to Medina. Because of this, some mistrust between Ali and Uthman's family seems to have arisen. Finally, he tried to mitigate the severity of the siege by his insistence that Uthman should be allowed water. There is controversy among historians about the relationship between Ali and Uthman. Although pledging allegiance to Uthman, Ali disagreed with some of his policies. In particular, he clashed with Uthman on the question of religious law. He insisted that religious punishment had to be done in several cases such as Ubaydullah ibn Umar and Walid ibn Uqba. In 650 during pilgrimage, he confronted Uthman with reproaches for his change of the prayer ritual. When Uthman declared that he would take whatever he needed from the Fae, Ali exclaimed that in that case the caliph would be prevented by force. Ali endeavored to protect companions from maltreatment by the caliph such as Ibn Mas'ud. Therefore, some historians consider Ali one of the leading members of Uthman's opposition, if not the main one. But Wilfred Madelung rejects their judgment due to the fact that Ali did not have the Quraysh's support to be elected as a caliph. According to him, there is even no evidence that Ali had close relations with rebels who supported his caliphate or directed their actions. Some other sources say Ali had acted as a restraining influence on Uthman without directly opposing him. However, Madelung narrates Marwan told Zayn al-Abidin, the grandson of Ali, that no one, among the Islamic nobility, was more temperate toward our master than your master. Caliphate. Election as caliph. Ali was caliph between 656 and 661, During one of the most turbulent periods in Muslim history, which also coincided with the first fitna. Uthman's assassination meant that rebels had to select a new caliph. This met with difficulties since the rebels were divided into several groups comprising the Muhajirun, Ansar, Egyptians, Kufans and Bosnians. There were three candidates, Ali, Talha and al-Zubair. First the rebels approached Ali, requesting him to accept being the caliph. Some of Muhammad's companions tried to persuade Ali in accepting the office, but he turned down the offer, suggesting to be a counselor instead of a chief. Talha, Zubair and other companions also refused the rebels' offer of the caliphate. Therefore, the rebels warned the inhabitants of Medina to select a caliph within one day, or they would apply drastic action. In order to resolve the deadlock, the Muslims gathered in the Mosque of the Prophet on June 18, 656 to appoint the caliph. Initially Ali refused to accept simply because his most vigorous supporters were rebels. However, when some notable companions of Muhammad, in addition to the residents of Medina, urged him to accept the offer, he finally agreed. According to Abu Mukhnaf's narration, Talha was the first prominent companion who gave his pledge to Ali, but other narrations claimed otherwise, stating they were forced to give their pledge. Also, Talha and Zubair later claimed they supported him reluctantly. Regardless, Ali refuted these claims, insisting they recognized him as caliph voluntarily. Wilfred Madelung believes that force did not urge people to give their pledge and they pledged publicly in the mosque. While the overwhelming majority of Medina's population as well as many of the rebels gave their pledge, some important figures or tribes did not do so. The Umayyads, kinsmen of Uthman, fled to the Levant or remained in their houses, later refusing Ali's legitimacy. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas was absent and Abdullah ibn Umar abstained from offering his allegiance, but both of them assured Ali that they would not act against him. Reign as Caliph. Since the conflicts in which Ali was involved were perpetuated in polemical sectarian historiography, biographical material is often biased. But the sources agree that he was a profoundly religious man, devoted to the cause of Islam and the rule of justice in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah. He engaged in war against erring Muslims as a matter of religious duty. The sources abound in notices on his austerity, rigorous observance of religious duties, and detachment from worldly goods. Thus some authors have pointed out that he lacked political skill and flexibility. Ali inherited the Rashidun Caliphate which extended from Egypt in the west to the Iranian highlands in the east while the situation in the Hijaz and the other provinces on the eve of his election was unsettled. Soon after Ali became caliph, he dismissed provincial governors who had been appointed by Uthman, replacing them with trusted aides. He acted against the counsel of Mughira ibn Shu'bah and Ibn Abbas, who had advised him to proceed his governing cautiously. Madelung says Ali was deeply convinced of his right and his religious mission, unwilling to compromise his principles for the sake of political expediency, and ready to fight against overwhelming odds. Muawiyah I, the kinsman of Uthman and governor of the Levant, refused to submit to Ali's orders. He was the only governor to do so. When he was appointed caliph, Ali stated to the citizens of Medina that Muslim polity had come to be plagued by dissension and discord. He desired to purge Islam of any evil. He advised the populace to behave as true Muslims, warning that he would tolerate no sedition and those who were found guilty of subversive activities would be dealt with harshly. Ali recovered the land granted by Uthman and swore to recover anything that elites had acquired before his election. Ali opposed the centralization of capital control over provincial revenues, favoring an equal distribution of taxes and booty amongst the Muslim citizens. He distributed the entire revenue of the treasury among them. Ali refrained from nepotism, including with his brother Alī ibn Abī Ṭālib. This was an indication to Muslims of his policy of offering equality to Muslims who served Islam in its early years and to the Muslims who played a role in the later conquests. Ali succeeded in forming a broad coalition especially after the Battle of the Camel. His policy of equal distribution of taxes and booty gained the support of Muhammad's companions, especially the Ansar who were subordinated by the Quraysh leadership after Muhammad, the traditional tribal leaders, and the Qur'an or Quran reciters that sought pious Islamic leadership. The successful formation of this diverse coalition seems to be due to Ali's charismatic character. This diverse coalition became known as ʿAlī, meaning party, or faction of Ali. However, according to Shia, as well as non-Shia reports, the majority of those who supported Ali after his election as Caliph, were Shia politically, not religiously. Although at this time there were many who counted as political Shia, few of them believed Ali's religious leadership. First fitna. Aisha, Talha, al-Zubair and Umayyad, especially Muawiyah I and Marwan I, wanted Ali to punish the rioters who had killed Uthman. They wanted Ali to arrest Uthman ibn Affan's killer and not to fight Muawiyah I. They encamped close to Basra. The talks lasted for many days, and the subsequent heated exchange and protests during the parley turned from words to blows, leading to loss of life on both sides. In the confusion, the Battle of the Camel started in 656, where Ali emerged victorious. However, some historians believe that they used this issue to seek their political ambitions because they found Ali's caliphate against their own benefit. On the other hand, the rebels maintained that Uthman had been justly killed, for not governing according to Quran and Sunnah, hence no vengeance was to be invoked. Historians disagree on Ali's position. Some say the caliphate was a gift of the rebels and Ali did not have enough force to control or punish them, while others say Ali accepted the rebels' argument or at least did not consider Uthman just ruler. Under such circumstances, a schism took place which led to the first civil war in Muslim history. Some Muslims, known as Uthmanis, considered Uthman a rightful and just caliph till the end, who had been unlawfully killed. Some others, who were known as Party of Ali, believed Uthman had fallen into error, he had forfeited the caliphate and been lawfully executed for his refusal to mend his way or step down. Thus Ali was the just and true Imam and his opponents are infidels. This civil war created permanent divisions within the Muslim community regarding who had the legitimate right to occupy the caliphate. The first fitna, 656–661, followed the assassination of Uthman, continued during the caliphate of Ali, and was ended by Muawiyah's assumption of the caliphate. This civil war is regretted as the end of the early unity of the Islamic Ummah. Ali appointed Alī ibn al-Abbas governor of Basra and moved his capital to Kufa, the Muslim garrison city in Iraq. Following the Roman-Persian Wars and the Byzantine-Euro-Sasanian Wars that lasted for hundreds of years, there were deep-rooted differences between Iraq, formerly under the Persian Sassanid Empire, and Syria, formerly under the Byzantine Empire. The Iraqis wanted the capital of the newly established Islamic State to be in Kufa so as to bring revenues into their area and oppose Syria. They convinced Ali to come to Kufa and establish the capital in Kufa, in Iraq. Later Muawiyah I, the governor of Levant and the cousin of Uthman, refused Ali's demands for allegiance. Ali opened negotiations hoping to regain his allegiance, but Muawiyah insisted on Levant autonomy under his rule. Muawiyah replied by mobilizing his Levantine supporters and refusing to pay homage to Ali on the pretext that his contingent had not participated in his election. Ali then moved his armies north and the two armies encamped themselves at Siffin for more than 100 days, most of the time being spent in negotiations. Although Ali exchanged several letters with Muawiyah, he was unable to dismiss the latter, nor persuade him to pledge allegiance. Skirmishes between the parties led to the Battle of Siffin in 657. English historian Edward Gibbon wrote, "The Caliph Ali displayed a superior character of valor and humanity. His troops were strictly enjoined to wait the first onset of the enemy, to spare their flying brethren, and to respect the bodies of the dead, and the chastity of the female captives." The ranks of the Syrians were broken by the charge of the hero, who was mounted on a piebald horse, and wielded with irresistible force his ponderous and two-edged sword. Of the estimated casualties, Ali's forces lost 25,000, while Muawiyah's forces lost 45,000. Appalled by the carnage, Ali sent a message to Muawiyah and challenged him to single combat, saying that whoever won should be the caliph. In Gibbon's words, Ali generously proposed to save the blood of the Muslims by a single combat. But his trembling rival declined the challenge as a sentence of inevitable death. After a week of combat was followed by a violent battle known as Laylat el-Hara, Muawiyah's army was on the point of being routed when Amr ibn al-As advised Muawiyah to have his soldiers hoist muslaf on their spearheads in order to cause disagreement and confusion in Ali's army. Ali saw through the stratagem, but only a minority wanted to pursue the fight. The two armies finally agreed to settle the matter of who should be caliph by arbitration. The refusal of the largest bloc in Ali's army to fight was the decisive factor in his acceptance of the arbitration. The question as to whether the arbiter would represent Ali or the Kufans caused a further split in Ali's army. Ashith ibn Qais and some others rejected Ali's nominees, Abd Ali ibn Abbas and Malik al-Ashtar, and insisted on Abu Musa Ash'ari, for his neutrality. Finally, Ali was urged to accept Abu Musa. Amr ibn al-As was appointed by Muawiyah as an arbitrator. 7 months later the two arbitrators met at a Adru about 10 miles northwest of Ma'an in Jordan in February 658. Amr ibn al-As convinced Abu Musa Ash'ari that both Ali and Muawiyah should step down and a new caliph be elected. Ali and his supporters were stunned by the decision which had lowered the caliph to the status of the rebellious Muawiyah. Ali was therefore outwitted by Muawiyah and Amr ibn al-As. When the arbitrators assembled at Domat al-Jandal, a series of daily meetings were arranged for them to discuss the matters in hand. When the time arrived for taking a decision about the caliphate, Amr ibn al-As convinced Abu Musa al-Ash'ari into entertaining the opinion that they should deprive both Ali and Muawiyah of the caliphate, and give to the Muslims the right to elect the caliph. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari also decided to act accordingly. According to Poonawalla, it seems that the arbiters and other eminent persons, with the exclusion of Ali unregistered trademark S representatives, met on January 659 to discuss the selection of the new caliph. Amr supported Muawiyah, while Abu Musa preferred his son-in-law, Abdullah ibn Umar, but the latter refused to stand for election in default of unanimity. Abu Musa then proposed, and Amr agreed, to depose both Ali and Muawiyah and submit the selection of the new caliph to a shura. In the public declaration that followed, Abu Musa observed his part of the agreement, but Amr declared Ali deposed and confirmed Muawiyah as caliph. Ali refused to accept the verdict of him stepping down and for an election to be held and found himself technically in breach of his pledge to abide by the arbitration. Ali protested, stating that it was contrary to the Quran and the Sunnah and hence not binding. Then he tried to organize a new army, but only the Ansar, the remnants of the Qurra led by Malik Ashtar, and a few of their clansmen remained loyal. This put Ali in a weak position even amongst his own supporters. The arbitration resulted in the dissolution of Ali's coalition and some have opined that this was Muawiyah's intention. This put Ali in a weak position even amongst his own supporters. The most vociferous opponents in Ali's camp were the very same people who had forced Ali into the ceasefire. They broke away from Ali's force, rallying under the slogan "Arbitration belongs to God alone." This group came to be known as the Kharijites. They considered everyone to be their enemy. In 659 Ali's forces and the Kharijites met in the Battle of Nahrawan. Feeling that Ali could no longer look after their interests, also fearing that if there was peace, they could be arrested for the murder of Uthman, they broke away from Ali's force, rallying under the slogan, "Arbitration belongs to God alone." The Qurra then became known as the Kharijites. The Kharijites then started killing other people. They also started killing Ali's supporters. They considered anyone who was not part of their group as an unbeliever. In The Shadow of the Sword, The Battle for Global Empire and the End of the Ancient World, Tom Holland writes, the Kharijites argued a true believer would have trusted his fate not to diplomacy but to ongoing warfare, and God will decide. Even though they themselves had put forward their representative and become a party of themselves, so that the negotiations could go in their favor and satisfy their own political and economic interests. Tom Holland says that they then condemned Ali as an unbeliever, as the man who had strayed from the straight path. The fact that he was Muhammad's nephew only confirmed them in their militancy of their egalitarianism. That the true aristocracy was one of piety and not blood. Even a companion of the Prophet, if he did not pray until he developed marks on his forehead, if he did not look pale and haggard from regular fasting, if he did not live like a lion by day and a monk by night, ranked in the opinion of the Kharijites as no better than an apostate. They then developed even more twisted views. Tom Holland writes other Kharijites, so it was reported, might go out and with their swords into the markets while people would stand around not realizing what was happening. They would shout no judgment except God, and plunged their blades into whomever they could reach and go on killing until they themselves were killed. In 659 Ali's forces finally moved against the Kharijites and they finally met in the Battle of Nahrawan. Although Ali won the battle, the constant conflict had begun to affect his standing. Tom Holland writes Ali won a victory over them as crashing as it was to prove Pyrrhic, for all he had done, in effect was to fertilize the soil of Iraq with the blood of their martyrs. 3 years later, and there came the inevitable blowback, a Karaite assassin. While dealing with the Iraqis, Ali found it hard to build a disciplined army and effective state institutions to exert control over his areas and as a result later spent a lot of time fighting the Kharijites. As a result, on the Eastern Front, Ali found it hard to expand the state. At about the same time, unrest was brewing in Egypt. The governor of Egypt, Qais, was recalled, and Ali had him replaced with Muḥammad ibn Abī Ṭālib. Muawiyah allowed Amr ibn al-As to invade Egypt and Amr did so successfully. Amr had first taken Egypt 18 years earlier from the Romans but had been dismissed by Uthman. Muḥammad ibn Abī Ṭālib had no popular support in Egypt and managed to get together 2,000 men but they dispersed without a fight. In the following years Muawiyah's army occupied many cities of Iraq, which Ali's governors could not prevent, and people did not support him to fight with them. Muawiyah overpowered Egypt, Hijaz, Yemen and other areas. In the last year of Ali's caliphate, the mood in Kufa and Basra changed in his favor as Muawiyah's vicious behavior in the war revealed the nature of his reign. However, the people's attitude toward Ali differed deeply. Just a small minority of them believed that Ali was the best Muslim after Muhammad and the only one entitled to rule them, while the majority supported him due to their distrust and opposition to Muawiyah. Policies. What shows Ali's policies and ideas of governing as his instruction to Malik al-Ashtar, when appointed by him as governor of Egypt. This instruction, which is considered by many Muslims and even non-Muslims as the ideal constitution for Islamic governance, involved detailed description of duties and rights of the ruler and various functionaries of the state and the main classes of society at that time. Ali wrote in his instruction to Malik al-Ashtar, "Infuse your heart with mercy, love and kindness for your subjects. Be not in face of them a voracious animal, counting them as easy prey, for they are of two kinds, either they are your brothers in religion or your equals in creation. Error catches them unaware, deficiencies overcome them, are committed by them intentionally and by mistake. So grant them your pardon and your forgiveness to the same extent that you hope God will grant you his pardon and his forgiveness. For you are above them, and he who appointed you is above you, and God is above him who appointed you. God has sought from you the fulfillment of their requirements and he is trying you with them." Since the majority of Ali's subjects were nomads and peasants, he was concerned with agriculture. He instructed Malik to give more attention to development of the land than to the collection of the tax, because tax can only be obtained by the development of the land and whoever demands tax without developing the land ruins the country and destroys the people. Death. On the 19th of Ramadan, while praying in the Great Mosque of Kufa, Ali was attacked by the Karaite Abd al-Rahman ibn Uljam. He was wounded by Ibn Uljam's poison-coated sword while prostrating in the Fajr prayer. Ali ordered his sons not to attack the Kharijites, instead stipulating that if he survived, Ibn Uljam would be pardoned whereas if he died, Ibn Uljam should be given only one equal hit. Ali died a few days later on January 31, 661. Hassan fulfilled qisas and gave equal punishment to Ibn Uljam upon Ali's death. Burial. According to al-Shaykh al-Mufid, Ali did not want his grave to be desecrated by his enemies and consequently asked his friends and family to bury him secretly. This secret gravesite was revealed later during the Abbasid Caliphate by Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, his descendant and the sixth Shia Imam. Most Shias accept that Ali is buried at the tomb of Imam Ali in the Imam Ali Mosque at what is now the city of Najaf, which grew around the mosque and shrine called Masjid Alī. However, another story, usually maintained by some Afghans, notes that his body was taken and buried in the Afghan city of Mazar-e-Sharif at the famous Blue Mosque or Rawz-e-Sharif. Aftermath. After Ali's death, Kufi Muslims pledged allegiance to his eldest son Hussein without dispute, as Ali on many occasions had declared that just people of the house of Muhammad were entitled to rule the Muslim community. At this time, Muawiyah held both the Levant and Egypt and, as commander of the largest force in the Muslim Empire, had declared himself caliph and marched his army into Iraq, the seat of Hussein's caliphate. War ensued, during which Muawiyah gradually subverted the generals and commanders of Hussein's army with large sums of money and deceiving promises until the army rebelled against him. Finally, Hussein was forced to make peace and to yield the caliphate to Muawiyah. In this way Muawiyah captured the Islamic Caliphate and in every way possible placed the severest pressure upon Ali's family and his Shia. Regular public cursing of Imam Ali in the congregational prayers remained a vital institution which was not abolished until 60 years later by Umar ibn Abd al-Aziz. Muawiyah also established the Umayyad Caliphate, which was a centralized monarchy. Madelung writes, Umayyad high-handedness, misrule and repression were gradually to turn the minority of Ali's admirers into a majority. In the memory of later generations, Ali became the ideal commander of the faithful. In face of the fake Umayyad claim to legitimate sovereignty in Islam as God's vice-regents on earth, and in view of Umayyad treachery, arbitrary and divisive government, and vindictive retribution, they came to appreciate his, Ali's, honesty, his unbending devotion to the reign of Islam, his deep personal loyalties, his equal treatment of all his supporters, and his generosity in forgiving his defeated enemies. Knowledge. Ali is respected not only as a warrior and leader, but as a writer and religious authority. A numerous range of disciplines from theology and exegesis to calligraphy and numerology, from law and mysticism to Arabic grammar and rhetoric, are regarded as having been first adumbrated by Ali. According to a hadith which is narrated by Shia and Sufis, Muhammad told about him, "I'm the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate." Muslims regard Ali as a major authority on Islam. Ali himself gives this testimony. Not a single verse of the Quran descended upon the Messenger of God which he did not proceed to dictate to me and make me recite. I would write it with my own hand, and he would instruct me as to its tafsir and the ʿæɛliḥ, the nasikh and the munsakh, the muhkam and the mutashabih, the particular and the general. According to Sayyid Hossein Nuz, Ali is credited with having established Islamic theology, and his quotations contain the first rational proofs among Muslims of the unity of God. Ibn Abi al-Haydid has quoted, "As for theosophy and dealing with matters of divinity, it was not an Arab art. Nothing of the sort had been circulated among their distinguished figures or those of lower ranks. This art was the exclusive preserve of Greece, whose sages were its only expounders. The first one among Arabs to deal with it was Ali. In later Islamic philosophy, especially in the teachings of Mullah Sajra and his followers, like al-Mutabatabari, Ali's sayings and sermons were increasingly regarded as central sources of metaphysical knowledge, or divine philosophy. Members of Sajra's school regard Ali as the supreme metaphysician of Islam. According to Henry Corbin, the Nahj al-Balagha may be regarded as one of the most important sources of doctrines professed by Shia thinkers, especially after 1500 AD. Its influence can be sensed in the logical coordination of terms, the deduction of correct conclusions, and the creation of certain technical terms in Arabic which entered the literary and philosophical language independently of the translation into Arabic of Greek texts. Ali was also a great scholar of Arabic literature and pioneered in the field of Arabic grammar and rhetoric. Numerous short sayings of Ali have become part of general Islamic culture and are quoted as aphorisms and proverbs in daily life. They have also become the basis of literary works or have been integrated into poetic verse in many languages. Already in the 8th century, literary authorities such as Abd al-Hamid ibn Yahya al-Amiri pointed to the unparalleled eloquence of Ali's sermons and sayings, as did al-Jawzi in the following century. Even staffs in the Divan of Umayyad recited Ali's sermons to improve their eloquence. Of course, Peak of Eloquence is an extract of Ali's quotations from a literal viewpoint as its compiler mentioned in the preface, while there are many other quotations, prayers, sermons and letters in other literal, historic and religious books. In addition, some hidden or occult sciences such as Jafr, Islamic numerology, and the science of the symbolic significance of the letters of the Arabic alphabet, are said to have been established by Ali through his having studied the texts of al-Jafr and al-Jamia. Works. The compilation of sermons, lectures and quotations attributed to Ali are compiled in the form of several books. Nahj al-Balagha contains eloquent sermons, letters and quotations attributed to Ali which is compiled by Ash-Sharif Arodi. Reza Shah Kazemi states, despite ongoing questions about the authenticity of the text, recent scholarship suggests that most of the material in it can in fact be attributed to Ali, and in support of this he makes reference to an article by Mokhtar Jebli. This book has a prominent position in Arabic literature. It is also considered an important intellectual, political and religious work in Islam. Mizatir Nahj al-Balagha wa Asanidju, written by al-Sayyid ʿAbd al-Zura al-Husayni al-Khatib, introduces some of these sources. Also, Nahj al-Sa'at fi Mustadrak Nahj al-Balagha by Muhammad Bakr al-Mahmudi represents all of Ali's extant speeches, sermons, decrees, epistles, prayers, and sayings that have been collected. It includes the Nahj al-Balagha and other discourses which were not incorporated by Ash-Sharif Arodi or were not available to him. Apparently, except for some of the aphorisms, the original sources of all the contents of the Nahj al-Balagha have been determined. There are several comments on the Peak of Eloquence by Sunnis and Shias such as comments of Ibn Abi al-Haddad and comments of Muhammad Abdu. Supplications, translated by William Chittick. Durr al-Hikam wa Durr al-Kalam which is compiled by Abd al-Wahid consists of over 10,000 short sayings of Ali. Nuzhat al-Abza wa Mahazin al-Asar, Ali's sermons which have compiled by Ali ibn Muhammad Tabari Mamtiri. Divan-i Alī ibn Abī Ṭālib. Descendants. Ali initially married Fatima, who was his most beloved wife. After she died, he got married again. He had 4 children with Fatima: Hassan ibn Ali, Husayn ibn Ali, Zainab bint Ali and Kulthum bint Ali. His other well-known sons were al-Abbas ibn Ali, born to Fatima bint Hizam, and Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was Ali's son from another wife from Hanafa clan of Central Arabia named Khawla bint Ja'far. Hussein, born in 625 AD, was the second Shia Imam and he also occupied the outward function of Caliph for about 6 months. In the year 50 AH, he was poisoned and killed by a member of his own household who, as has been accounted by historians, had been motivated by Muawiyah. Husayn, born in 626 AD, was the third Shia Imam. He lived under severe conditions of suppression and persecution by Muawiyah. On the 10th day of Muharram, of the year 680, he lined up before the army of the Caliph with his small band of followers and nearly all of them were killed in the Battle of Karbala. The anniversary of his death is called the Day of Ashura and it is a day of mourning and religious observance for Shia Muslims. In this battle some of Ali's other sons were killed. Al-Tabari has mentioned their names in his history: al-Abbas ibn Ali, the holder of Husayn's standard, Ja'far, Abdullah and Uthman, the 4 sons born to Fatima bint Hizam. Muhammad and Abu Bakr. The death of the last one is doubtful. Some historians have added the names of Ali's other sons who were killed in Karbala, including Ibrahim, Umar and Abdullah ibn al-Ask. His daughter Zainab, who was in Karbala, was captured by Yazid's army and later played a great role in revealing what happened to Husayn and his followers. Ali's descendants by Fatima are known as Sharifs, Sayyids or Sayyids. These are honorific titles in Arabic, Sharif meaning noble and Sayyid or Sayyid meaning lord or sir. As Muhammad's only descendants, they are respected by both Sunni and Shia. Views, Muslim views. Except for Muhammad, there is no one in Islamic history about whom as much has been written in Islamic languages as Ali. In Muslim culture, Ali is respected for his courage, knowledge, belief, honesty, unbending devotion to Islam, deep loyalty to Muhammad, equal treatment of all Muslims and generosity in forgiving his defeated enemies, and therefore is central to mystical traditions in Islam such as Sufism. Ali retains his stature as an authority on Quranic exegesis, Islamic jurisprudence and religious thought. Ali holds a high position in almost all Sufi orders which trace their lineage through him to Muhammad. Ali's influence has been important throughout Islamic history. Shia. The Shia regard Ali as the most important figure after Muhammad. According to them, Muhammad suggested on various occasions during his lifetime that Ali should be the leader of Muslims after his death. This is supported by numerous hadiths which have been narrated by Shias, including Hadith of the Pond of Kun, Hadith of the Two Weighty Things, Hadith of the Pen and Paper, Hadith of the Cloak, Hadith of Position, Hadith of the Invitation of the Close Families, and Hadith of the 12 Successors. According to this view, Ali as the successor of Muhammad not only ruled over the community in justice, but also interpreted the Sharia law and its esoteric meaning. Hence he was regarded as being free from error and sin, and appointed by God by divine decree through Muhammad. It is believed in Twelver and Ismaili Shah Islam that aql, divine wisdom, was the source of the souls of the prophets and imams and gave them esoteric knowledge called nikmah, and that their sufferings were a means of divine grace to their devotees. Although the imam was not the recipient of a divine revelation, he had a close relationship with God, through which God guides him, and the imam in turn guides the people. His words and deeds are a guide and model for the community to follow. As a result, it is a source of Sharia law. Shia pilgrims usually go to Mashhad Ali and Najaf for ziyarat, pray there and read Ziyarat Amin Allah, or other Ziyarashnamis. Under the Safavid Empire, his grave became the focus of much devoted attention, exemplified in the pilgrimage made by Shah Ismail I to Najaf and Karbala. Sunni Muslims regard Ali with great respect as one of the al-Bayt and the last of the Rashidun Caliphs, as well as one of the most influential and respected leaders in Islam. Also, he is one of the al-Asharati Mubashirun, the 10 companions of Muhammad whom the Prophet of Islam promised paradise. Sufi, almost all Sufi orders trace their lineage to Muhammad through Ali, an exception being Naqshbandi, who go through Abu Bakr. Even in this order, there is Ja'far al-Sadiq, the great-great-grandson of Ali. Sufis believe that Ali inherited from Muhammad the saintly power that makes the spiritual journey to God possible. Eminent Sufis such as Ali Hujri claim that the tradition began with Ali, and Junaid of Baghdad regarded Ali as the sheikh of the principles and practices of Sufism. Sufis recite Mankabat Ali in the praise of Ali. In South Asia, various forms of Hamd, Naat and Qawwali are also recited in the praise of Ali. As a deity, Ali is recorded in some traditions as having forbidden those who sought to worship him in his own lifetime. Alawites, some groups such as the Alawites believe that Ali is a deity in his own right, or he was God incarnate. They are described as ulat exaggerators by the vast majority of Islamic scholars. These groups have, in traditional Islamic thought, left Islam due to their exaggeration of a human being's praiseworthy traits. Alīism. In Alīism, a syncretic religion centers on the belief that there have been successive incarnations of their deity throughout history, and reserves particular reverence for Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, who is considered one such incarnation. Druze. The Druze believe that God was incarnated in human beings, especially Ali and his descendants, including al-Hakim bi-Amr Allah. Non-Muslim views.